Malta migrants. A sole survivor describes 11 days in a dinghy, one of the top stories from the BBC. The migrants had each paid a smuggler €700 to make the journey from Libya to Europe in the scorching heat of the central Mediterranean. Then their fuel ran out, then their food, then their water. He is the sole survivor, he says, of the passengers, including a pregnant woman who attempted the arduous journey in one of the deadliest stretches of water in the world. And yet, they continue to come, and they're not deterred. I think we're past the giving money to a smuggler, whom in turn provides a boat or a thin air explanation. It's 9 times out of 10, the people always seem to end up eventually on European shorelines via NGOs. So either the NGOs are effectively aiding the so-called smugglers, giving them a cushy earner in the process, or the much more likely scenario that the people have attained a boat, as they always do, like the ones who went before them in fact. And now they know, they've got the knowledge, it's worldwide knowledge now, that they supposedly can't be sent back to where they came from, aka Libya. So they've set sail with the intention of an NGO coming across them. But with Richard Greer and all the rest of them preoccupied, their POs being preoccupied elsewhere, it seems their plan hit a bit of a problem. Pretty quickly it goes. And as sad as it may be in regards to the pregnant woman that was supposedly originally on board, they wouldn't have been on that boat heading to Europe in the first place if they knew it was not only illegal, but would result in the return to where they started, if they weren't, of course, jailed or fined or something along those lines. But instead of that, the powers that be have created this manufactured crisis with the sole intention of exploiting these very tragedies would inevitably occur. And each and every time they do, there's always a push for the legislation of safe and regular and orderly migration from the very same powers that be that created the crisis to begin with. The ill-fated trip unfolded. The 38-year-old who describes himself as an exiled Ethiopian politician from a former rebel group decided to make the journey after he was contacted by friends from Germany. Presumably, he'll be attempting to claim asylum, with Germany being the final destination. The mere fact that these so-called desperate individuals are under the impression that they can just pick and choose where they wish to go drastically hinders the validity of any asylum claim as far as I'm concerned. But it doesn't seem to stop them. They seem to have it in their head somehow that when they arrive here via their NGO taxi service, they get to decide where they wish to go. Now anybody that's supposedly desperate to flee the hardships, etc, etc, you'd think they'd be thankful for where they arrived. But oh no. They've got their sights set on particular countries, and it always seems to be one of the few countries that will offer them the most lucrative of benefits and handouts. Once in Libya, he met a Somali named Ismaili, and together they arranged their passage via a smuggler. Sure you did, buddy. The agent set out on the 1st of August from the Libyan city of Zawiya, west of the capital. The agent gave us the GPS and told us to go to Malta. Oh, the GPS. Ah, yes. I've heard a few stories in the past about these so-called GPS devices, and it always seems to be in the context of them using these GPS devices to contact the relevant parties in order for them to be picked up. Why should this guy be any different? It just so happens, in this case, all the NGOs, when this guy supposedly set sail, were all preoccupied. Those on board were a man and a pregnant woman from Ghana, 2 men from Ethiopia and 11 Somalis. So 1 pregnant woman and the rest were men, standard procedure. But of course, a woman from Ghana who happens to be pregnant. What fucking part of Syria is Ghana? Mohammed is one of more than 40,000 people who've survived crossing the treacherous Mediterranean to Europe coast this year, including 1,000 to Malta. According to the UN, 839 have died, making the Med the most dangerous sea route for refugees and migrants in the world. The word treacherous, when describing these people's illegal endeavours, only solidifies exactly why they should have been deterred years ago from making the crossing to begin with. But as I said, the powers that be exploit each and every tragedy when they inevitably occur to continue pushing their safe, regular and mass migration agenda, which of course was the sole reason for the migrant/refugee crisis being created to begin with. And the UN is one of the main reasons that these deaths in the Med occur, as they spend all their time demanding more is done to get these people from A to B, to get these people here safely, while always glossing over the factors that led to their deaths to begin with. Not to mention the fact that these migrants have absolutely no business to be jumping on boats with people who may or may not have viable asylum claims. The fact that asylum seekers and economic migrants are being treated as if they're one and the same is beyond me. While the sea crossings continue, there's deadlock among countries about what to do. Now, of course, the sea crossings are only continuing because they're being allowed to do so. It could be stopped pretty fucking quickly, but they won't do it. They've done everything but stop it. In fact, they're in the process of creating procedures and solutions to effectively make it all above board, legitimate, legal, safe, regular, and so on and so forth. So all these sea crossings continuing is just par for the course, is it not? If that wasn't the case, what exactly do people propose? Because you make allowances once, twice, 10 times, whatever, it encourages more to do the exact same thing. Italy's anti-immigration interior minister Salvini repeatedly attempted to block so-called charity ships from docking, clashing with the Prime Minister over 147 migrants who were dumped on Lampedusa on Thursday on a so-called humanitarian ship. A second boat, Ocean Viking, has picked up 356 migrants in 4 so-called rescue operations close to Libya. Oh yeah. You know, these NGOs are not charity ships, nor is their persistent presence in the Med anything to do with humanitarian procedures. They are knowingly or unknowingly facilitating human trafficking, and they always seem to use maritime law as justification to bring them here each and every time they conveniently end up in the vicinity of yet more desperate so-called refugees/migrants in need of rescuing. And this second boat that's gone and picked up 356 migrants, not refugees, not possible asylum seekers, no, just migrants, in 4 meetup points where they approached a boatload of people who had set sail with the sole intention of stumbling into an NGO. Notice the close to Libya stuck in at the end there, you know? Why are they in Libya? Why the fuck are they close to Libya? That sounds as if they're going out of their way to find these people, who, like the bloke from the beginning of this video, set sail and never had enough fuel to get there. It seems as if he had enough fuel to get him out a few nautical miles, and he was to use his GPS device to contact one of the nearby NGOs. And then he found himself in a bit of hot water, it would appear. And as for Mohammed, what will happen to Mohammed? I know what should happen to Mohammed, but I think it's safe to assume that that won't be occurring anytime soon. Remembers the last days of his journey as like being in a dream. He doesn't remember his rescue and was unaware that Ismaili had died. He believes he faces arrest if he returns to Ethiopia because his former rebel group is outlawed. He left 15 years ago. He left Ethiopia 15 years ago, and now he's coming over here to try and claim asylum. I'm sorry, where have you been for the last 15 years? It seems to me as if you are just one of the many other people who have decided to take it upon themselves to chance their fucking arm. And we all know that you will probably get exactly what you wanted. If you go to Germany, you have to speak German. I have little English. Does he have any regrets about taking the journey? No. I'm happy I'm alive. I love the fact though that this guy had friends in Germany contact him apparently, and he now wants to go to the UK because Germany would force him to speak German, and the UK doesn't have the audacity to breach his human rights in that manner. You know, so again, completely pretending, glossing over the fact that the law states quite clearly that you're supposed to claim asylum in the first safe country that you arrive in. So this guy, supposedly being an asylum seeker, if his application was accepted, he intends to just traverse Europe, exploiting free movement of people, with the UK as his final destination.